Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. If you guys don't know, the Kings of Battle Major update will be coming out in the next few weeks, and in this video, I will be going over every single vehicle that is currently on the dev server, plus some of the features that they did mention will be coming to the game. Now, I will try to go over everything in as complete of detail as possible, but if I miss anything, let us know in the comments below. That way we can have a more complete picture of it. Also, there are some vehicles that will be coming out that were mentioned in the dev stream, the live dev stream, so I will try to mention those as we go along. But either way, let's get into it. Let's go ahead and start right here, the T-54E2. This will be a rank 5 battle rating, 7.7 American medium tank, and I really like this. So this is pretty much just a variant of the T-54 program. As you can see, we already have the T-54E1 in game. This has an oscillating turret, whereas the E2 does not. They do have, at least as of current, very similar armor values. Now bear in mind, in the dev server, armor values, anything, they are all subject to change. Whether it's ranking, BRs, any stats, whatever, it's all subject to change. But at least as of current, they have the same armor values. Now, the E2 is also around 5 tons lighter. Despite having the same exact engine mass, it's got a better vertical guidance of -10 to positive 20, as opposed to this -18 or 8 to positive 13. And it also can get down to 5-second reload, despite the fact that this has an autoloader and this does not. So it's a very, very compelling option. And again, it's 0.3 BR lower and same rank. And it also costs a little bit less in terms of GE, so we'll have to see exactly where that ends up, but pretty damn good. With that said, let's go ahead and speed up. The first one's always going to take the longest here. Next, we have the M109A1. We are getting a whole bunch of artillery vehicles in this next major update, the M109A1 probably being the most numerous, and it's a very basic artillery vehicle. It's got the M107. This is a reliable HE shell with nearly 7 kilograms of explosive filler, and you will be seeing this in different forms all throughout this update. Like I said, numerous countries get that same exact vehicle. So next up we have helicopters, and it's not in the dev server as of yet, but the Americans are getting a Black Hawk helicopter. I think it's 11.3 BR, correct me if I'm wrong. Again, everything is subject to change, but they are getting an MH-60 DA, I forget exactly what the exact variant is, but it should be an 11.3 BR Black Hawk helicopter. That's right, the Americans are getting it. Next up, we have aviation, and this is where things get interesting. A vehicle that I thought would be coming to War Thunder last year is finally coming. That's right, we've got the Aardvark. And this will be, at least as of current, 10.3, battle rating 7.0 vehicle that comes after the M10 or the F-105 Thunder Chief in the tech tree. And this thing has a many metric tons really, of payload. As you could see, this can carry pretty much everything. It can carry up to 50 or 500-pound bombs, 26 750-pound bombs. This thing is ridiculous. Absolutely insane, but it does not come with a standard cannon. Now, you will have to add this in if you do want a cannon on it, which kind of sucks. You can go without a cannon, which really, really sucks, or you can equip a whole bunch of AIM-9Bs, actually 8 of them, which is just ridiculous. Now, it doesn't have anything better than AIM-9Bs, and being 10.3 BR, you pretty much have to sneak up on someone, which with an Aardvark might not be possible. Now, you do also have AGM-12B bullpups. These are manually guided, which kind of sucks, but I understand why they do it. Or you can have up to 456 Mighty Mouse rockets. Just an absolutely crazy vehicle. And by the way, if you guys don't know, I will be doing gameplays on pretty much all the major vehicles that will be coming, including this. So check your streams out, check the my channel out later. Definitely subscribe if you want to see the first gameplay. This might be coming out probably within about an hour or two of me releasing this video that you're watching presently. But with that said, I think that's about all for the US. Let's go over to Germany, and Germany gets their own variant of the M109. Now, this is the G variant. I believe it's the short barrel. Yes, it is. It's got the shorter barrel, so it's not quite as effective. It's just not as good, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's got like a lower muzzle velocity, among some other things, but it is, there are some pros actually having a shorter barrel like this, like as in it's not going to be as easily destroyed. I mean, this is a big chunky boy right here, so maybe it still will be easily destroyed, but that does have its benefits. And again, there are plenty of M109s coming to this game. There are a few more, actually. And now going over to air, they have the MiG-29G. So as you can see, I mean, this thing is beautiful, and it will have some really, really cool camouflages. Unfortunately, they are not presently available, but I did see them in the dev stream, and it looks awesome. So this is pretty much just like a standard MiG-29 SMT, very similar. It doesn't have any guided weapons for anti-ground, but you can equip R-73Es. Now, I think that these are the same as regular R-73s, if I'm not mistaken, just like the export variant, kind of like how the M and the MK of the R-60s are the same. It should be pretty similar. You can also equip R-27ERs, E7T, whatever. R2E7T1? Is that correct? Or is that supposed to be an R27ET1? I'm not sure. That doesn't look right. Anyways, maybe we just found something here. This is pretty much just going to be like an SMT, a little bit different, I think. It's pretty much just a German version of the SMT. And you guys really have to bear in mind here as I go into the US, or USSR, is that with a lot of these vehicles, like, you know, we used to have it where, I remember back in the day, where it was literally USA, Germany, USSR, Great Britain, Japan. Each nation would get like 8 vehicles or something with a major update. It's not happening any longer like that. One, because there are fewer vehicles really to add to War Thunder. And I feel like we're going to start getting into like much more derivative vehicles, like vehicles that are just like weird variants. Most nations are just going to get like 2 or 3 vehicles rather than like 8. It's just going to kind of continue to happen like that. But anyways, we have the BTR-152D. This has 14.5 KPVT machine guns as its main armament to face off against aircraft. Of course, this is an SBAA, but you could, in theory, use this against ground forces with just under 50 millimeters of armor pen at close range. So this really shouldn't be all too bad. It's a BR 3.7. So if you're going after vehicles from the side, it actually could, in theory, do pretty well against them. Next up, we have one of the more anticipated vehicles that I don't really think many people even anticipated, because this is just kind of out of nowhere. The Object 775, the Object 775. This is the Flat Boy tank. Basically, you think that this is flat. It actually has a hydropneumatic suspension, which can make it even lower to where these wheels are basically touching the mud guards. So it's just really crazy, the side skirts, or whatever you want to call them. This thing is just bananas. You know, and it has very little armor, at least according to the stat card. I think that's incorrect, but this is sloped at 75 degrees. So you are going to have a lot, and I mean a lot, of ricochets probably against this thing. It also only has 2 crew members. You have a commander and a driver, and it has the Rubin ATGMs, which only go through, at least according to the stat card, 500 millimeters of armor. And you can also fire an HE shell, which I think these are rocket guided or rocket propelled HE shells. A very interesting vehicle overall, though. I mean, I'm pretty stoked to see this. This is going to be another one that I'm going to probably have a gameplay on. Now, unfortunately, like I said before, I don't really think that there are other aircraft coming. Now, one thing that we are getting, is the Murat already in game? I don't think that this is already in game. If it is, I may be just completely bonkers. But this must already be in game, right? The Murat, the premium battleship. We are getting a few premium battleships, so bear that in mind, which is kind of cool. I personally like the idea of premium, battleships, and just a bigger tech tree for the, for naval. But when it comes to the Army for Great Britain, we have the M109A1. Of course, they get the longer barrel version because they're not the Germans. And this, as you can see, has a higher muzzle velocity and all that, so it is in some ways a bit better. So this does have 6.3 BR as opposed to the M109G, which is 6.0 BR. But again, we are getting a lot of these artillery vehicles sitting here, give or take around 6.3 BR. Next up, we have the Vickers Mark 11. This is something that has already been released in a dev blog. Very interesting vehicle. Like I said, this kind of looks like something from Halo in a very loose sort of way, and it has the C76A1 APF SDS as its main shell. It does have a stabilizer, and I think once you fully upgrade it, it should have something like 350 horsepower, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a pretty decently quick vehicle. Wheeled vehicles, they tend to be able to, like, if this were a tracked vehicle and it only had less than a 20 to 1 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio, you'd feel it a lot more. So I think give or take, you know, it would be like, what, 17.5 horsepower per ton, just doing some real quick math. That should be relatively quick with this. Plus, it has a good forward speed. I think it's reverse. Yeah, it's reverse. It's only 10 kilometers per hour, so it should be a pretty decent vehicle at this BR. No, it doesn't have any thermals, but it will have a laser rangefinder, so pretty decent overall. Now, when it comes to aircraft, as you could probably see, unless I'm missing something here, and again, let me know in the comments below if I miss anything, but the British will be getting a Strikemaster Mark 88. This will be, if I'm not mistaken, a 6.0 BR rank 4 jet aircraft. So they will be getting it. It will only have 4 hard points, being able to equip up to 2 or 4 500-pound bombs, rather, and actually a decent amount of snap rockets. And it will be a 6.0 BR jet. Now, it won't be very fast, and it will only have 2 LMGs, so rifle caliber machine guns. So pretty interesting in that regard, but it's not currently here in the dev server, unfortunately, because I would love to play around with that thing. But for the British fleet, we have the HMS Iron Duke. If I'm not mistaken, this was a dreadnought, and it's just such a cool looking, like, look at this camo. This is so cool. And like, look at all those guns pointing out the side. Just a bunch of 6-inch cannons. This thing just looks great. It's got 5 turrets of 13.5 inches each. So it's not like these are crazy powerful guns, but they are just good enough, you know, where it's like, wow, I don't know, this thing just looks great. It's 31,400 tons. Man, that might be something. So if you guys don't know, as a content creator, I get some free vehicles every now and again. That might be something I might try to spring for. That is a cool vehicle. Wow. But that said, when it comes to Japan, we have the TAM, or the TAN SAM 1C. This will be a 10.0 BR, well, 10.0 BR, rank 7 SAM launcher. So if you guys don't know, that basically means surface air missiles, and this will be against enemy aircraft. Very cool vehicle. Kind of looks like how the Chaparral is, how these are set up in the back. And it will have access to the P4001 SAMs. Now, these are decent. It's got 35 Gs of overload. It's got pretty decent range of 11 kilometers. All aspect of course IR guidance. Decent amount of explosive filler equivalent. Not all too bad. Should be a pretty effective vehicle. Definitely a step up for Japan over the Type 93. And if you only have this, the Type 87. So pretty darn good in my opinion, but you know, of course, it's no what is it, Strela or whatever, the Pantsir. You know, it's no Pantsir, but it's still a much better version. It gives Japan a much better reach at top tier. Now, as I said, I don't think that Japan is getting any aviation, but they are getting the HMS, the IJN Yamashiro. This is a battleship premium, and it will be almost 40,000 tons. And we'll have 6 cannons, or 6 turrets rather, with 2 cannons each, 36 centimeters. Like, look at this. These are so cool. Like, these camouflages are just radical. Like, it looks so cool, in my opinion. The Japanese had some really cool camouflages during the war, and this thing, man, it's gonna have, what was that, like 68.64 kilograms of explosive filler with a semi-armor piercing shell. That's crazy. That's going to have some pretty decent, though not amazing, torpedoes. If you guys don't know, the better torpedoes for Japan do come out later. I believe like the Mikuma, if I'm not mistaken, has some really solid torpedoes. Type 93s, look at that. 91 kilometers per hour, 20 kilometer range, and over 600 kilograms of TNT equivalent. Those are big ship killers. Next up, we have the PLZ-83, and this is kind of like the Chinese equivalent to the M109. A little bit worse because the TNT equivalent is about a kilogram less compared to what the M90 or the M109 has. So it's you know, I mean, it's not going to be quite as good, but as you can see, I mean, it looks pretty darn similar, just like a Chinese version of it, if that makes any sense. So pretty cool. You know, I'm glad that they are getting their own variant of it, but whether it's the same, better, or worse, that remains to be seen. But based on what I'm seeing, probably will be slightly worse. Now, unfortunately, we do not see everything again, but the Italians will be getting with the next battle pass, basically a Beretta 90mm cannon on the back of a truck, kind of a similar truck to like, not the Lancia, but one of their, like the Complessa 12.7 mm SU CM52. kind of like this sort of truck, except instead of an SPAA, it will have a 90mm cannon in the back. Very, very cool, but again, not showing here. But very interestingly, and I'm wondering how this is going to actually work, because this is probably going to go up in BR. We have a Leopard at 4.3 BR with over a 20-to-1 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio. And bear in mind, that's without my mods purchased. Yeah, an SPAA at 4.3, this thing's going to go up in BR. And it's got 93mm of armor pen with a Bofors? 240mm? Like, that's crazy. 240 rounds per second. They are getting a 4.3 BR Leopard. And then, of course, we have the small boy, the M109G, coming to Italy. Now, Italy is going to be getting a top-of-the-line helicopter, the AH-129D Mangusta. Very cool-looking vehicle. Let's go check out what this thing has. We'll have some Mistrals, which are very good, some ATAS, and, of course, a bunch of Hydras. You can get yourself some different... Oh, wow. It's going to be able to have some Mighty Mouse rockets underneath those. That's pretty cool. And then, of course, you get your Hellfires, but more importantly, your Spike ERs. And arguably, I mean, these might be what some people prefer because, I mean, they do move a little bit, maybe not, probably the Hellfires. But then again, who knows? I mean, these are tandem charge. I guess it really depends on what you prefer. But if these are anything like Spike ground missiles, like the ones that you see on ground, maybe they will be a little bit better for top attack. I'm not entirely sure. I don't really play too much when it comes to helicopters, if you guys did not know. Oh, and one other thing, very important. So when it comes to features for this next major update, when you are firing APF-SDS, if you guys don't know, APF-SDS is a sub-caliber ammunition. And so basically, it's smaller than the diameter of the barrel. Unlike, you know, like the Lorraine whatever, right? And so with this, you have a 90mm shell basically going through a 90mm barrel. But with an APF-SDS, much of the time, they are substantially smaller than the barrel. And so you have to have like filler, like a casing around it in order so that it gets proper speed moving out of the barrel. Now that casing, it splits apart midair, and that will actually act into a damage model, believe it or not. And you will be able to actually see that and possibly kill crew with the casing. Believe it or not, very interesting. But we have the AMX-10P right here. This is a French battle rating, 5.3. Is this an SPAA, I guess? Yeah, I guess it is. Very interesting. It's got a 20mm cannon. Somehow this is, again, a higher BR than that Leopard. But hey, it is what it is, right? 5.3 BR, the other one's 4.3. I really don't know how that's working, but we also have a Persing here, which is pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of sharing at this point between nations, fortunately or unfortunately. So you will be seeing that quite a bit going forward. Now, I think that I'm pretty sure that the French are getting a new Tiger, 11.7 BR Tiger. I think it might also have spikes, but if I'm not mistaken from what I saw in the dev stream. So I would highly recommend you guys just to kind of look at the dev stream, possibly skip through it if you prefer. But it does have some of the other vehicles that are not present, at least currently, in the in here. Now, next up we have the Panzerbandwagen 501. This is pretty much a BMP-1 without the missile launcher, so whether this is good or not, we'll have to wait and see. But it will have the classic PG-9, anti-tank grenade, and of course night vision and all that. So pretty much just, I think it's a cool vehicle. Again, we are starting to see it where we're having like X or Y import or export derivatives and all these other things where it's like not totally new vehicles, but rather just variations therein. And that's kind of where we are in War Thunder at this point. Unfortunately, at least according to this, Sweden will not be getting any more advanced aircraft, but let's just move over to Israel real quick. We will be getting, of course, the M109 with Israel, the short barrel version of it, which is kind of cool. You know, but again, that was at like the 4th or 5th nation that's getting an M109. So this is not the biggest of all updates ever, by any means. You know, I mean, typically when it comes to September through December, we have 3 updates, believe it or not, in 4 months. So we have the September update, the October update, which typically comes mid to late October, and then the December update, which comes late December, give or take around Christmas. And so this is, I think this tends to be the smaller of the updates, so that's probably why we're not seeing as many vehicles here. But again, we'll have to wait and see, because it seems like there are a lot of vehicles that have not been shown as of yet. And I mean, that's just evident on the dev server. Checked out the dev server because, well, you'll see some extra vehicles there. But either way, thanks so much for watching. Please, if you don't mind, consider liking, commenting, subscribing. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. But either way, thanks again, and I'll see you all on the other side. And check out my Aardvark video, because I will be releasing a gameplay very, very soon. Take care, everyone.